Hello guys, welcome back to this video tutorial on RESTful web services. In this video we will see how to create a web service to download a list of objects from a database on server. First of all, we have to create a new class of the object to download from the database. So we can create the class into a new package model. And the new class company. Okay, now the properties. Okay, now let's generate the constructors. Then the getter and setter, and the toString method. Okay, we need to create a new database where to store all the objects. We can do it using the data source explorer of Eclipse. Let's create a new connection to a Derby database. The name of the connection, Derby RESTful. The JDBC driver, we can select this one, but the system doesn't find this jar file, so we have to select another one. We can select this version here. Here we are in the repository. In fact, this is the same file that we have downloaded with Maven. Now we have to select the folder where to store the database file. We will use this folder, and the name of the database, we can say rest demo. Then a username to access to this database, that will be user, and the password, that will be pwd. Okay, here there is the option create equal to true, so that if the database doesn't exist, the data source explorer will create it at the first connection. Okay, the database has been created. This is the app schemas. The app schema is the schema reserved to the user, whose tables folder is now empty. We need a table where to store all the objects of the company class with the fields corresponding to the company class properties. To do so, we can use the SQL editor here of the data source explorer. Let's copy and paste the SQL statement to create the table. And now we can insert some rows into the table to use for our example with this insert statement. Okay, let's see now. Refresh. We have the new table with the 4 rows. Let's create a method to get all the objects from this database, the company table or database. To do so, we have to create a new class into a new package that we call business object BO, and so the new class called company repository. In this class we will create also all the methods for the management of the database. We can copy and paste the code of this method from another file here. Okay. And we have to import all the packages. Okay, I have to correct this property here. Okay. Here we are using the JDBC API to connect to the database. So here are defined as a constant some strings useful to create the connection, the JDBC driver that we are going to use, the URL to connect to the database, the Derby database that we saw before, then username and password, and the declaration of two objects, the connection object and the statement object, and also of a prepared statement object that we will use in the following operations. Then here in the constructor we create the connection, loading the JDBC driver, and then creating a connection object to the database with these three parameters that are which are the URL and the username and password. And here there is the the method that we need to get all the objects from the table company in the database. So first of all, we create a new statement. This is the SQL statement. Select star from app.company table. Execution of the statement. Then in the result set there are all the rows retrieved from the database that with this while loop we are copying into a collection of object of class company here with this set statement, and then adding the current company object to this array list of company objects. Finally, we close the result set and the statement object and return the list of companies. Now we can create the method for our web service. So let's come back here in the class of web service method, company WS. The method will return a list of object of class company. We need an object of a company repository class, so let's declare it here. Okay, and now we can return the value returned by this method. So see repo dot get companies, that will return a list of company. Let's add to this method a get annotation so that it will be called with a HTTP GET request. But now we have two methods with a GET annotation in the same class. So how can the client application specify which of them it wants to call? We have to add a new path annotation, this time at method level, with a subpath specific of this method. We can put JSON. Okay, so the client application will specify into the URL this string, and then the string of the specific method. And then the last annotation produces. In this case, we want to return to the client application the list of objects in a JSON format. So media type dot application JSON. In this way, the list of objects of Java objects returned by the get companies method will be automatically converted into JSON format. Well, the Web service is ready. Now let's start our application and call it. Before that, we have to close the connection of Data Source Explorer to database to avoid conflict. So disconnect here and then restart server. Run on server plus fish. Now we can call our web service, but to do so, this time we will use Postman. Postman is a HTTP client application that can be installed as a desktop standalone application or as an extension of Google Chrome. We will see the version in Chrome. So click on App here, and you can find it here. If it's not installed as an extension, you can go here on Web Store and search for Postman. Okay, this one. So let's start with Postman. As you can see here, there are many tabs. One tab for each request that you can configure. So let's click on plus here for a new request. First of all, you have to select the method of the HTTP request. This time is get, and then here to enter the URL of the request. You can copy here, and then we have to add the WS configured into the web.xml file, then the path of the whole class, companies, and finally the path of the specific method, JSON. Okay, in this case we have no parameters or other header parameters, so we can send our request to the web service. Let's send the request. We click here. Okay, this is the body of the response with the 4 objects of class company in JSON format, and you can see also the header of the response and also cookies, but we haven't cookies in this station. Let's see now how to get the same data in the XML format. Okay, so here we can create another method and change some parameters. First of all, here the path, then the media type XML, and the method that has to have a different name. But there is another thing that to do for the XML format. Here in the bin class of the object to download, we have to add an annotation. It is XML root element, This annotation indicates to the system which is the root of the XML file. Okay, now we can restart the application here. Okay, run on server. Okay, again. And now in Postman we have to change only the last part of the path XML, and this is the list of objects in XML format. Okay, but we instead of creating two methods, one for each format, we could also create only one method and leave that the user specify in the HTTP request the format that he wants. So let's create this other method that we can call XML JSON, for example. And here in the as produces parameter, we can specify the list of format that the user can ask to the web service. So in this case we can choose between XML and JSON. The list of media type have to be put into curly bracket. Let's change name here to avoid conflict. Okay, let's start again. Okay, let's see now in Postman XML JSON, and okay, if we don't specify what kind of format we want, the result is in XML format. But here in the header of the request we can add a key, the key accept, where to specify the format, for example JSON, one of the two formats supported by the web server. So send. In this case, with the same web service, we can get two different format, XML and JSON. Well, that's all. Thank you for your attention. In the next video we will see how to get only one specific object, sending to the web service its ID value. Goodbye.